welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. Hey, I tell you what, it's the last podcast of 2025, and what a year it has been. I tell you, there's been some very good fishing, some fishing we need to see improved. We got more regulation changes coming in 2026. Some of them good, some of them I don't like so much. But here's the plan for tonight. We're going to make our first stop over in Nassau, Costa Rica to check in with Craig Sutton. He's bombarding my inbox every day with videos of blue marlin being caught over there. So it's obviously they're off to a very, very good season. Then we're going up to Northeast Florida, check in with David Voorhees, work our way all the way down the East Coast. We'll go through Ray Rocher down to Alamorada, come up the West Coast, and then go out the Panhandle until we know where every fish in Florida is hanging out and how you can catch them. I tell you what, let's get it started rolling. Let's head to Costa Rica and check in with Craig Sutton. We're going to make our first stop tonight in Nassau, Costa Rica, where Mayor Craig Sutton is in charge of all things Nassau. Craig, if you send me any more videos of blue marlin, you're going to have to buy me more storage space on my site. You got me?
Yeah, I got a bunch of them I didn't send you.
Man, your fishing has been off the chart lately.
Yeah, it has. I mean, we had I guess 2 weeks ago, Thanksgiving week, it was a little slow. It was still good, but it was a little slow. But the marlin have been, and we're getting the marlin mixed with the big mahi. We catch a 35-pound mahi, we know there's a marlin in the area. And I mean, we've had 4 marlin release days, 2 here, 2 missed. You know, I mean, it's been good. It's been real good.
This isn't usually your best time of year, but boy, the marlin are sure showing up good.
I know. I mean, we get them, and I had a November, a long time ago, where I had, I think it was 8 releases, but it was in about, and we did several other ones that I wasn't the angler on in that, but I fished 24 days that month.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been really good. I don't know if it's something that, that's going to be around for years to come or what, but it's pretty good right now.
Yep. I mean,
no big in the last 2 weeks though.
Let me tell you.
30s.
Let me tell you what I've learned about fishing. If it's good, enjoy it while it's good, because it's not going to stay that way. And when it's bad, sweat yourself through it, because it ain't going to stay that way either.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right, man. That's for sure. But,
hey, Craigie, of all the fish that you guys catch down there, what species did the best in 2025? Yeah, this is our last show this year.
I would say the wahoo. The wahoo the last 3 years has gotten better and better and better and better. And we're catching some small ones right now. We've had a few good ones. They're super consistent. We're catching them all year round. And I mean, I had one slice about a 7-8 pound bonita and a half, and on the reef, and had it happen 2 or 3 times. And you see the fish, so it's like there's no question about it. But probably that and the marlin this year.
Yeah, what a great deal. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take a piece of that wahoo to Pacific Azul. And it'll work out well, I promise you.
Yeah, the ones we get too, they're smaller, so I think they taste a little better and they cook up better. But it's funny, even the big ones we get, they're long, skinny wahoo. They're not like the fat wahoo we get in North Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of long, skinny, but good eating fish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Cap, we appreciate it as always, and please tell me we can check with you next week.
I'll be looking forward to it, brother.
Thank you, Craig.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Our thanks to Craig Sutton for a great report out in Nassau, Costa Rica. Now, let's hit the northeast corner of Florida and check out Captain David Voorhees. Dave, how was your fishing?
It's been really good this week. Up to this point, Christmas week was really some good fishing. The tides were the tides sort of transitioned later in the week to an early morning tide, which really worked out good for the last couple of days. I talked about last week how important it is to pick your days, and we had another scenario like we did last week: an approaching front, warm weather on one side of it, and cold weather and lots of wind on the back side of it. And sure enough, the days leading up to that front, the fish really chewed good. Plenty of reds, Ricky, plenty of sea trout, a few flounder here and there. Had been a few reports, not many, but there are quite a few guys catching trout. Getting some black drums here and there, and still plenty of sheephead to be caught.
Dave, you guys don't understand. You young guys, I tell you what, I fished yesterday with Captain Matt Davis, and we went back in Hannah Mills area and fished with mullet on the bottom. And the reds, just the nice reds, the upper slot fish, the 25s, 26, one right after another. And I couldn't help but think back to when I was a teenager. Buddy, you caught an 8-pound red in the river, you were something else. You were a pro. Things are so much better now.
They are, and I got an interesting story from yesterday. This was probably my last trip of the year because the weather's really turned bad for New Year. I mean, it's really going to blow. Temperatures are cold. Most of the captains I've talked to, they've all canceled their trips for the next couple of days. So, we had a group, a family in from Philadelphia area, and it was 3 of them. And we fished and had just a phenomenal day. It was a little breezier than it was on Sunday. Now, this was Monday. So we get out there and we're fishing, and we're just about ready to wrap it up. And I got one more deep water drop I want to hit. I said, the tide had already started coming in. We could tell the bite wasn't quite as good. And I said, well, let's hit some deep water spots. And we started jigging around the 20-foot marker. And the lady on board, the mother of the son, and she hooks a monster. She hooks a big red. And, I mean, we had to crank the big motor up, pull the trolling motor up, and go chase this fish down because, I like fishing with light tackle. So, catching a 30-pound red on light tackle is quite a feat for me. And it turned out being probably the last fish of the year and my biggest red of the year.
Oh, really?
And it was like, wow, what a way to end the season. With a really monster, big red, big spawner that for some reason still hanging around. That some of those big spawners still hang around. This time of year, they're usually not here. They start moving out. But here we go. We south of Atlantic Boulevard. We catch a 30-pound redfish.
Woo! Yeah, that's a good one. I think I can tell you why that big spawner was still here. There ain't no shrimp like a Mayport shrimp. I would live in our river too, and I would eat shrimp all day long. I mean, there's still a lot of shrimp around, which is crazy. Hey, David, yeah. I think I know the obvious answer to this, but everybody else doesn't. What species in your fishery performed the best this year? What did you see a real increase in, you think?
Well, of course it's redfish, but I'm going to just say not just the redfish, but what we consider slot reds. The upper size. There for a while we were complaining, God, we were catching plenty of reds, but they were either too big or they were too small. We weren't catching, reds that people could take home. So, they went ahead, they had a 2-fish limit, and then they changed that to 1. Now, I'm not saying the change caused this, but this year we definitely saw the increase of what I'm going to call the slot reds, and that's the redfish between 18 and 27 inches.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more, Cap. That's fantastic. Happy New Year to you, and please tell me we can check with you next week.
Next week and next year, I'll be here, buddy.
You got it. Thanks, Cap. Our thanks to David Voorhees for a great Northeast Florida report. Now, let's move to East Central and find out about the 2025 fishing year from our main man, Jim Ross. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing I'm doing pretty good, but I'm really cold right now, Rick.
Son,
This little bit of Arctic blast that came through can go away anytime. I'm ready for it. Anyway.
Yeah, winter's almost over, right? I mean,
yeah.
With the end of this year will be the end of this winter. Isn't that how it works?
I hope so.
Me too. Hey, Jim, how was your fishing this week?
This week has been a complete reset. Last week we talked about pretty good redfish action, pretty good snook action, speckled trout action. All of those fish have kind of gone into hibernation with this cold front that's hit us. And it's so the shallow water areas have been much more challenging after this cold front has hit than they were beforehand. They were pretty darn good beforehand. Now, the one thing that really hasn't changed is the bite out along the beach. We've still got a decent sheephead bite, around the port, down at Sebastian Inlet and up at Ponce Inlet, around those rocks. Anywhere there's rocks right now is pretty darn good. And we have this influx of micro jacks from half a pound to about 2 pounds. So if you're looking to just get out and have some fun, or if you're looking to get out and stock up on some cut bait for whenever you're using cut bait, especially for redfish later in the year, it's a pretty good time to do that, because there are more jacks out along the beach right now than I've seen in a very long time, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's crazy, because I wondered, when they quit netting, I didn't realize this at the time, but the number 2 exported fish out of Florida was ladyfish. And very high on the list was jack crevalle. And I thought that they would boom with the nets being taken out of the water. And it's taken quite a while, but it suddenly seems like we've all of a sudden this year got more jacks and ladyfish, doesn't it?
Well, I think that's a good thing. There's still a lot of commercial pressure on them, even though there's not netting going on. I mean, if I had, an RS or an SPL or whatever you need to sell that particular species of fish, with my morning and my afternoon charter today, we probably had at least 250, close to 300 pounds.
Wow.
And that's at a pound to 2 pounds a piece. I mean, it's constant action. So if you got kids, people that are just getting into fishing, it's a great time to get them out. Also, like I said, if you're trying to stack up, some bait for your cut bait times of the year, especially the doldrums in the middle of the summertime when the redfish don't want to chase anything in the shallows, this is a good time to go get that bait and then have it ready for then. Now, the triple tail bite has not slowed down. The water temperature along the beach has been in the mid 70, like 70.7, 70.6. And today it was a little lower. It was 70.1. It may drop down to 69 overnight. And it may, there may be 2 or 3 days where it may even get down to 68 coming into the weekend. But the triple tail bite has been very strong. The morning trip was yesterday was 18 triple tail, and of course we kept our 2. They wanted to keep 1 per person, even though you're allowed to keep 2 per person. We put 16 of them back in the water.
Wow.
A couple of them weren't quite legal, but some good solid fishing for them right now. And then again today, we didn't do a lot of it with the wind blowing as hard as it was. But any kind of floating debris out there, we were even catching triple tail off of, there was a couple of dead floating seagulls out there. Why they're dying, I don't know, but there's some dead floating seagulls out there. And, a floating dead bird is a magnet for triple tail. And people are like, why are there triple tail holding under this bird? And I'm like, well, think about it. Triple tail eat crabs and shrimps and things like that. What do crabs and shrimps eat? Typically things that are dead or dying.
Yep.
So the bird is dying. It's starting to release its oils and things as it decomposes. Well, that's just a gigantic scent trail that the crabs and and little minnows and things can follow right up to it. The triple tail sits right under it and just feeds himself all day long. So if you see a dead bird out there floating on the water, always check it to make sure that it doesn't have a triple tail, or sometimes 2 underneath it, especially if it's a gannet, one of those bigger birds or a
Mm-hmm.
pelican, a bigger bird like that. Sometimes there's 2 or even 3 triple tail that will hold under a bigger bird like that. Then there will just, 1 or possibly 2 that hold underneath the seagull.
What
But the
if
triple tail bites solid through the whole region right now.
what if you accidentally hit a seagull with a bottle rocket? Will he still draw a triple tail?
Well, it's going to take a little bit because
I'm-
he's got to start having some scent come out of him. But you know what I mean.
I may or may not have done that, so I just wondered. Hey, Jim, I got a quick question for you. Of all the
Sure.
fish in your fishery, which one performed the best in 2025? What were you happiest with?
Undoubtedly, no questions asked. Redfish.
Yeah.
We have been in a redfish deficit for a long time. In fact, they have closed that fishery. CCA has come in and done some supplemental restocking in a couple of areas throughout our Central East region. But unquestionably, between the enhancements that have gone on, the closures that have gone on, there are more juvenile redfish right now than I have seen in a very, very long time.
Yep.
And that's encouraging. Now, no, those 30 and 40-inch fish aren't here. We need to take these juveniles that we're seeing show up right now, and we're going to have to give them 15 or 20 years for them to get that big. But they have, even though they're small, the numbers are going way up compared to what they have been. And I only hope that we can continue with the restocking efforts and also with the natural recruitment to help that species. It all boils down to this, Rick. In Brevard County, we voted a half-cent sales tax, imposed that on ourselves as Brevard County residents to help clean up this lagoon system because it was in dire straits, 8-10 years ago. We're seeing the fruits of that come back now. And, I see a little bit of, especially on social media, I see a little bit of resistance to maybe wanting to renew that particular half-cent sales tax, or what they call the Save Our Indian River Lagoon tax. I would tell people this is the only means of cleanup that we have. Now we're starting to actually, because there's showing signs of improvement. Now we're starting to get some more help from the state and from the feds. But at first it was like pulling teeth to get money out of either of them too. So I would say that if you guys have not been on the water in the last year, get yourself back out there, look at what you see. It's cleaner. There's grass in it. There's more juvenile fish. There's more bait fish. Everything is starting to turn and come back. And it's only because of those restoration efforts that are being paid for by the sales tax money. But redfish are unquestionably the biggest boon that we have had in this entire, out of all of the species and all of the ecosystem. Redfish are showing more promise than even the seagrass itself.
That's
and
fantastic.
That is super, super encouraging.
Yep, it sure is. And I'll tell you, I don't know a fisherman that wouldn't pay another half-cent in taxes if we're not taxed to death already, but I would gladly pay a half-cent to see our waterfront cleaned up because don't get me started. Jimmy, we appreciate it ever so much. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
I'm looking forward to it, Rick.
Me too, pal. Happy New Year.
You too.
Captain Jim Ross from East Central Florida. Our thanks to Jim Ross for a great East Central report. Now we're going to my favorite little fishing village, which there ought to be plenty of laundry flying from the outrigger flags right now. John Earhart, how are things in Stuart, Florida?
Things are pretty good, Rick. We've had some rough weather, but we've had some days where it's been comfortable to get out in the ocean. Sail fishing's been pretty good right out front. Some guys are doing well to the south and to the north as well. So, pretty much if you like to live bait or troll, now's a great time to get out of the St. Lucie Inlet and do pretty well on a mixed bag. One of the other boat captains was out yesterday, I believe, and he had a good mixed bag. He had one sailfish, 5 or 6 nice mahi. One looked like it was a gaffer, a wahoo, a limit of blackfin tuna, and a kingfish.
That's
so
he had day. Oh yeah,
had everything covered.
Yep, that's a fine day. Hey, John, I want to ask you a question. of all the fisheries that you're involved in, which is just about all of them out of the Stewart area, which one did the best in 2025? Which one did maybe surprise you with a few more fish than you thought?
For 2025, I want to say that it was probably the summer sailfish, to be honest with you.
It
It
just
was a
keeps
little,
on getting better.
yeah. Yeah, it seems like every summer, like if one species isn't doing as good, because they have their ups and downs, it just seems like there is just always lots of sailfish here in the summertime. And I just love that I can go out there and catch a lot of people their first sailfish, and everybody likes catching those things.
It's funny. Up here in Northeast Florida, kingfish absolutely rule the summertime. You can't get anybody but me to leave the silly kingfish behind to go catch sailfish. But I'm going to tell you something. As long as my grandson can do the hard work for me, I don't care how old I get. I'm going to be there every June and July chasing sailfish with you.
I'm glad to hear it, Rick. I want to see that 7 out there so I know where to go.
Yeah, I hear you. She'll be there. Don't you worry about a thing. Cap, Happy New Year to you, and I hope your fishing stays good until 2026 and all the way through the year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Rick, and Happy New Year to all the listeners out there. I hope everybody's having a great year, and let's go 2026.
Thank you, John. Our thanks to John Earhart for a great Stewart report. Now, let's move on down to Miami, where the larger-than-life captain lives. You know who that is, Captain Ray Rocher. Ray, how's your fishing?
I'm trying to lose weight. What are you talking about? No, anyways, our fishing's actually been good. Catching's been mediocre. A lot of bottom fish this week. So we've had almost no current. Very few sails, although one of our boats caught 3 sails in the morning half today. So there have been a handful, but it's been mostly dropping. Like today, for instance, one of our boats had a full-grown African pompano, an amberjack, an almaco, a cuda, bonita, one of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And been a handful of dolphin, a handful of kings. There haven't been a lot of any one fish, but if you work at it and break out 22 rods, you're usually catching a couple of everything.
You can pick a day out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, poor mates. Yeah.
I remember going to sea with 4 rods when I was a mate. That's what we had. We pulled a 2 outrigger baits, a flat line, and a wire line, and that was your spread. But and you never changed during the day in what your plan of attack was. You always saw it through. Hey, Ray, let me ask you a question about 2025 as we bring it to a close, and Happy New Year to you and your family, by the way. But tell me what fish in your fishery surprised you this year by being good?
Dolphin fishing.
How about that?
Average this year. Yep.
How about that?
Remember, I told you the story about Buddy Carey.
Sure.
I was very young, and I said, man, it must have been good back in the 60s and 70s. He's like, we had slow years and we had good years. That floored me. I never forgot that. That he would tell me back then they had slow. Now, granted, a slow year for them might have been great by our standards today, but
right.
The point is it's cycled. He was very clear that there were years that were good and years that were bad. And he just said they're a very nomadic fish, and their migration is affected by many things, and can't explain why. But some years they're here, and some years they're not. And it really stuck with me. And I think about it on years like this. I think of Buddy when we're catching good numbers of dolphin in October and November.
Yeah,
good year.
I'd still like to see the limit tightened. I still think we may be a little too liberal on that.
It's not a bad idea, but I can tell you that very few people, at least here, it maybe in the Keys it's different, but in Miami, Lauderdale, Palm Beach, nobody's catching a limit. Very, very, very. I can count on one hand the number of days that we even came close. There's a new saying on the rip. Most of the captains know it. If you bring it up, 20 is plenty.
Yep.
And I heard that actually from a guy down in the Keys, and stuck with me. And he's right. You catch 20 dolphin. That's a nice batch of dolphin. Everybody takes some home. Maybe even the crew gets a fish or two for dinner, and it's plenty. I'm not, I'm not condemning anybody that catches their limit. Don't get me wrong. I'm a person that came from days when we killed a lot, so I'm no one to throw stones. But it is a little different nowadays, and we realize that a big part of what makes a good day is the experience of being there and catching a variety of fish. We've kind of focused more on variety than hammering one species.
I think
catch a
that's
few of this, we go to that.
I think that's fantastic. I agree with you, and nothing will do a better job of preserving our fisheries for the future than anglers' attitudes. If we get to a point where you don't have to have the hero shot of a whole dock full of tuna or whatever it is, that's when we're going to make real progress on fisheries management.
And I just want to add one thing so that we keep all this in perspective. A very good friend of mine, he was actually a sponsor at one time, and we became close friends, and we fished all over, and I goose hunted with him in Connecticut, and he turkey hunted with me in Florida. We just became, we did a lot of outdoors things together. And he explained to me one day the 5 stages of outdoorsmanship. And I never looked at it this way until he said it. In the beginning, and it's like when we were kids running around with a BB gun, you were trying to kill every blue jay and crow. And
Yes,
squirrel,
I'm afraid
right?
you were. Yep.
And then you go to the next stage where, your game gets bigger and you want to kill every buck you see and maybe shoot a doe, whatever, hogs, whatever. And then it's, you're really after the biggest of the big, and you become more of a steward and manage. And, then you basically evolve into eventually being more of a mentor. And you just don't really need that enjoyment of killing an animal as much. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd still like to get a nice buck, or I even enjoy, a doe. Or if I go elk hunting, I promise you I'll go for a cow next because I've got the big bull.
Mm-hmm.
But and not that I'm a list checker, but the point is, I don't want to condemn anybody when they start out with a BB gun or they're, go through their phase of, shooting a lot of does or hogs.
Sure.
Got to keep in mind, we all went through these phases, so don't condemn somebody that's going through that phase at a younger age. But education is key, and the sooner we can, and the more we can educate young people to appreciate the resource and realize that times have changed and there are more people pulling at the resource, that's a good thing. But I do think it's wise to not judge people who are going through a phase, maybe nurture them and nudge them into maybe a little bit clearer thinking. But, I'm a big fan of keeping people involved in the outdoors. And as soon as you start, really being unnecessarily mean or critical, suddenly people may stop. And we need more outdoorsmen and people who appreciate the resource. So that's my little
Well
moment
said.
of conscience.
So well said, Ray. You're absolutely right. I can preach on about releasing the fish and all I want to. I have to remember when I was 21, I didn't have enough snapper to pay my expenses, so I free gaffed 125 pounds of spade fish. So it sold them for 25 cents a pound. So I better look in the mirror. Thank you
for admitting. That's the first step of recovery, Rick.
Yeah, I better look in the mirror before I criticize somebody else. Cap, we enjoyed having you part of the podcast so much this year. Please tell me we can carry it over next year.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking
for having me.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Cap.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Now let's do a little hopscotch. We're going to go on down to Alamorada. It's a whole lot warmer there than it is up here in Jacksonville, I promise. So let's check in with one Brandon Storn. Beaner, how we doing?
Man, Bean is about to be cold, man, for the first time this year.
Time out. Stop. What's cold?
Below 60.
Bean, I caught a load of sea bass on Sunday, okay? I needed to clean them today because I iced them down real good. I like cleaning iced fish better than I do fish as soon as they come out of the box. So I got them good and chilled. I went to clean them today, but I couldn't get out on my dock until it got out of the 40s. So I don't want to hear anything from you.
Oh, my
okay?
God.
I'd have killed for 60.
Well, I got to say, Rick, I've been waiting all winter for this. Finally, the Patrice are going to be even better than they were before. Should push a lot of cobia to us. Should have a lot more sheepshead, black drum, red drum. That's what we're looking forward to. Yesterday, we saw all of the warmer species pushing really hard from north to south. We got into many schools of permit yesterday. We saw thousands of tarpon, but the tarpon wouldn't eat. The permit were happy, they're eating, but it was so crazy to see these fish moving so hard from north to south. So that's kind of what's going on in the backcountry. I did go out front today to try to spectate some patry fishing, but that cold front's just hitting here and everything's kind of laying low as of right now. But we are right now eyewitnessing a big transition with this cold front that we're facing.
Just going to dip all the way down to 60. Oh, you poor baby.
I think 55.
Oh, no. It freezes in Alamorada at 56, doesn't it?
If it's below 70, it's at freezing.
Hey, Brandon, I got a question for you. All right? For 2025, of all the fish involved in your fishery, and I know you do inshore and offshore and everything that can be done down there in Alamorada, what species did the best for you? What surprised you by being a little better this year?
Like what species would I say is like most abundant, like more abundant, or
more than you're used to? Yeah, like one particular species that was
permit.
Probably permit. Yeah,
permit. I will say I target permit almost every charter that is like somewhat calm, right? I mean, there's permit at the bridges. There's permits on the flats. There's permits on the edge of channels. There's permits for swimming in schools in the where the backcountry meets the Gulf. There's permits on the reefs. There's permits on the offshore wrecks. There are way more permit, I feel like, than what we think, and they are. I'm not taking credit away from them because they're still extremely special fish. They're extremely smart fish, great eyesight, tough fish to be a good angler on. But I do think that there's more permit out there than we think.
Huh, that's fascinating. Now, permit tastes really good, don't they?
They do.
But not many people keep them.
Upon to kill them.
Yeah,
right.
Not many people keep them.
No, the only couple I've kept are ones that I kind of knew were going to die.
Yeah. That's something.
But they taste just like pompano.
That's really good. Yeah, I mean, why can't we be that way with more species? Take home what we need to eat.
Right.
I'm getting off my soapbox. My New Year's resolution in 1988, many years before Bean was born, my New Year's resolution in 1988 was I was never going to sell another fish. That ocean didn't owe me a thing. All right, I owed it everything. And
that's right.
And I'm happy with that. And for the guys that need to keep selling fish, I'll fight for their right to do it. But boy, if you don't need it, let's leave the ocean better than we found it. I appreciate you every week.
I agree.
I appreciate you every week, Bean. Please tell me we can talk with you next year.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Our thanks to Brandon Storn for a great report out of Alamorada. Now, let's hit Southwest Florida and check in with Captain Greg Stamper. Greg, how are you?
Doing good, Rick. Doing good. Had some good fishing this week, pre-cold front. And to be completely honest, I think this might have been the last chance to catch a tarpon for a while. There were some guys off our beaches this week, off of Sanibel, around the Caloosahatchee River mouth and those areas, that did get into a few more tarpon. These fish are either pushing all the way up into the back of these rivers that are going up, or they're heading south, because we got some cold weather coming. But they were there, and that was one of those cool bites that you just happen to have last minute. So the guys that were near shore this week, they still did really well. There's a lot of permit caught. The cobia bite continues to be strong. again, just keep your eyes open, go into these areas that have high relief slowly, even on a trolling motor. You never know. But these cobia are curious. If they see something or hear something, they're probably going to come check you out. If you got something to throw at them, you're going to have your chance. Now, to take it off, the water cooling off a little bit, there's been a lot of mackerel in that nearshore water, as well as some kingfish out a little bit deeper. Now, for me, in my back bays, it was all redfish this week. Jack Crevalle seemed like they were damn near everywhere. Everywhere we went, we caught jacks of all sizes, but we did get into some decent ones that were 8 or 9 pounds. So those are fun for the clients, and they also pull a lot of drag, which is always nice. I know personally down in the Estero area, I haven't had a lot of good trout, but I know up in the Pine Island Sound area, the guys are talking about good trout. Not huge trout, but a lot of trout up to about 23, 24 inches. So those are perfect sized trout if you're on those flats, the open flats over the grass beds, and about 2 to 4 feet of water. Most guys are just throwing popping corks for either a fake shrimp or a live shrimp under them, and they're doing great with that. And of course, when the water's clean in those areas, as in mine, the pompano are also around during that time frame. But since I haven't seen many trout, I haven't been going after them, so I really haven't been doing much pompano either.
Greg, I got to tell you, I am convinced that guides, particularly new guides, younger guys, they so undervalue Jack Crevalle. And
they're my favorite.
These people fly down here from Minnesota or wherever they come from, and, they don't know our fishery at all. And here's the guide. He's trying so hard to get them on a trophy trout. When you got to ask him, what fights harder, a 5-pound jack or a 5-pound trout? I think that's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, I think if you tied 5-pound trout to the back of a jack, he'd drag them all around.
He'd drown them all. You ain't kidding. No, God love a Jack Crevalle. Hey, I got a question for you. Of all the fish that you pursue in your fishery and your business, which one did the best in 2025? Which one do you feel optimistic about?
Oh, that's easy. You mean best as in what was really kind of like surprisingly good fishing this year?
Right.
So, I do a lot of juvenile tarpon, and I know kind of the tides and where they should be and when to be there. But, even with all that knowledge, there are days where it's just tough and you don't get one,
Yeah.
And it does happen. It happens to all of us. But this year, I can tell you, I think almost every single time I went after them, we got them. And a lot of days we got several. So the juvenile tarpon were just very helpful this year. It seemed like whenever I went for them, they were there, they were happy. And this year was one of those years where I can really look back and say, I think every time I tried to get one, I got one.
Now that's interesting. Greg, aren't tarpon numbers pretty static? I mean, it fascinates me that we don't kill them. Nobody kills them. And yet it seems to me like we've got almost the exact same number of tarpon that we had when I was a guide starting out at 19 years old.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But like some of these fish, they meander and they move around and go in different areas.
Sure.
Luckily for me this year, they just like to stay where I know they're at. And it was just a pleasure to be able to be on top of fish in 10 minutes and throw that silver in the air several times. There are days when if you get one, especially if it's a medium or a big one is a good day. Several is an amazing day.
Mm-hmm.
But those juveniles, we had several days where we probably jumped 10 to 12 fish.
Oh, that's cool. That's way cool. That's way cool. Cap, I'm glad for you. I sure appreciate your help all year this year. And please tell me we can call you next year, too.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to everybody.
You got it, Greg. Thank you very much. Our thanks to Greg Stamper, a Great Southwest Report. He was happiest this year with the juvenile tarpon population. That's a good deal. Now let's move up to West Central and check in with the one, the only Ray Markham. Captain Ray, how we doing?
It's a little chilly, but I got chili on the stove, so it's kind of canceling each other out.
I'd like that. I'd like a big old pot of venison chili right now. Doesn't get any better than that. Tell me how your fishing's been this week.
It's been good, actually. I mean, we had Sunday especially because we're just kind of pre-front thing coming down. Tonight's the night. It's cooking pretty good right now, and we're in the 50s, but I think they're expecting 30s with feels like temperature 20. Probably because of all humidity, but still, it's cold. I don't care who you are.
Let me tell you, Sunday we made a sea bass trip and we had a great catch of sea bass. And
Nice.
I iced mine up in a slush because I was going to clean them today. Okay.
Yep.
I had to wait till 1 o'clock until it got out of the 40s before I went out on the dock and cleaned those fish. Oh, I'm too old for that, Cap.
Yeah, I heard that. I look like the Michelin Man when I get out there.
That's
I got
right.
so much stuff on. But yeah, fishing was good. We had decent trout action going on. A lot of fish were just kind of schooled up. Believe it or not, snook were absolutely crazy. Yeah, and I fish some places I don't normally fish this time of year, and a lot of the places, I mean, dark, muddy bottom, but maybe a foot and a half of water tops in mangrove infested areas, and I was just chucking stuff, keeping the rod tip up, trying to get the lure from hanging on the bottom, and these doggone fish they were absolutely ravenous, and I gotta think they're still getting ready for what's coming tonight and tomorrow. They know it better than we do. In fact, I cut the grass towards the end of last weekend, and the red ants, the fire ants, are absolutely they had it all over, man. They had ant piles a foot high. They know when the weather's coming.
I want some of these evolution geniuses to tell me how there wasn't a creator, but the animals know in advance what the weather's going to do? Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense.
They absolutely do. And I'll tell you something else. The squirrels, they're sitting there nipping off small branches. By small, I mean like less than the size of a pencil. And they're taking them back to their little nests, and they're putting in some insulation. They know.
Right. Oh, you're right. They know. There's no doubt. Hey, I got a question for you, Ray.
Absolutely.
Of all the fish in your fishery, and you do snook and you do reds and trout and flounder and just about everything, which one surprised you this year positively? Which one did you end up with better numbers than you thought you would?
Well, I target mangrove snapper in the summertime.
Right.
But I mean, based on what I saw, just inshore, and listening to what the guys offshore were telling me, and the fish that they were coming in with 8 and 10 pound mangrove snapper.
It's good ones.
All the time on a regular basis. And I have more than one guy that I know have been fishing more than 40, 50 years guiding, said this is the year of the mangrove snapper. And I mean, myself personally, most of the fishing I do is inshore stuff. So, I thought based on the last 5 or 6 years of just kind of recuperative trout fishing, this year has been actually really good. And towards the end of the year, we were starting to see some bigger fish. But, I'm thinking March and April of this coming year, that it should be off the chain. It should be really good with some bigger fish because they grow pretty quickly and they spawn prolifically. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus, this winter thing, we started seeing sheep's head coming in here 2 months ago. And, I'm going, well, we might actually have a winter after all this year. So it's all been good.
It's good. I'm very pleased to see the trout rebounding like they are. I've never understood why up here you have days where you can catch 50 or 70 juvenile trout. But there's not many of them that make it over 20 inches. You don't.
Well, if you remember, we used to have a closed season. What was it, November or
February.
something?
Up here it was February. I don't know what yours was.
Okay, yeah, here it was November, and I got to sitting there thinking about all that. I know trout spawn probably 6 or 8 months out of the year, and the winter time, November. It just didn't seem to make sense to me to close it then because, number one, we didn't have an influx of tourists per se, not much.
Right.
And if there was anything, it should have been March and April here because, number one, I catch the biggest trout of the year. I mean, I look back in pictures, 20 years ago, and 99% of them were in March and April here.
Right.
And with all our tourists that come down here for spring break, that is prime time, and every single one of them want to take fish home. So I don't know why we just didn't close it then, but heck, we don't have it closed at all right now. So I guess I'm not complaining, but just
Yep.
kind of looking back.
Yep. I understand. We got to keep an eye on them. Ray, thank you so much, and thank you for all your reports this year. It's been great. Please tell me we can do it another year.
Yes, sir. I'm counting on it. And please tell Captain William Tony when you get up to the Mayersville up there that we love the brother and we will be seeing him to shoot something soon.
Well, I hope that he didn't shoot a deer last weekend because he still owes me dinner at the seafood cellar. So we're going to have to work that out. Thank you, Cap. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Take care,
Happy
Ray.
New Year.
All right, thanks to Ray Markham for a great West Central report. Now let's head on up to the mayor of Homosassa himself, Captain William Tony. Cap, how we doing?
We're doing good. Captain Rick, I fished. This is the last day I'm fishing this year. I'm done. I tell you what. But, it was pretty chilly, and they were not kidding about that Arctic blast. Now, I'll recap yesterday. I did set my stand. I did see 6 deer. 3 were definitely does. 3 were probably does. 1 possibly a buck. So maybe I'm closing in to that seafood cellar dinner. But, this morning I was back on the water here in Homosassa, and I tell you what, the warmest part of the day is when I got up.
Man, I tell you, it was some kind of cold in Jacksonville, Florida today. I'll tell you that much. So how was your day today?
Well, I can tell you what, we've had so much warm weather. I still felt most of, like our trout, redfish, and snook were still on the outside. Haven't heard a lot about the sheep's head yet, but I think that this cold weather is going to drop our water temperature. So that's going to be really good for that sheep's head bite, starting in about 8 to 15 feet of water on our outside, rock piles or big structure out there. But I started off fishing all the way up in the springs like I did back in November on that first big snap. But the fish have already, I guess, gotten accustomed to that warm weather and are on the outside. But I noticed as we've started fishing up in the springs, the manatees were coming in droves.
Yeah.
I mean, running like we'll just say a stampede of sea cows coming up the river.
I hope a stampede moves a little faster than a herd of sea cows.
Well, that was the no pun intended, but those, so they're all heading up there, and so I noticed that the further out the river I went today, the better the bite got. But I will say, for those who look forward to fishing into the new year, I would suggest staying back up into the river. I was on the outside in the Gulf on the edge, and we did catch a few trout out there on jigs, but the fish were warmer as I touched and unhooked them than the air was. And it's dropping rapidly. We're at 53, and I think today our high was 54. So, you give tomorrow all the way through, say, a couple days after New Year's, that water temp's going to drop back down from 70, probably back in the low 60s in that range. And that's going to push a lot of those fish in the river. And I noticed as we did come back up the river, we started catching more trout, ladyfish. We caught some snook. And as they were pushing up the river, and I always try to imagine how quickly do fish move when the water temperature drops. I think as much as like 1 tidal change.
Okay, wait a minute. You have to explain that. You lost me.
Okay, so we have like 1 tidal change or 2 tidal changes here on the Big Bend a day.
Right.
1 low, 1 high, 1 low, 1 high in a 24-hour period. So we had an outgoing tide today that was peaked out around noon. Then I started looking in the river, and we had incoming coming up the river, which sometimes that's really good because I prefer an incoming. But then in winter months, not to confuse everybody listening, if you're fishing in a river that's spring fed, that warm flow on an outgoing tide is going to keep all those fish happy and biting. Now, if you got the Gulf out there, which is basically about a 3-hour tide change from your boat ramp at McRae's to the Gulf, that incoming tide will shut that bite down because pushing that cold water from the Gulf back up the
colder.
river,
Yeah, that makes sense.
chills everybody out. But so today, the Gulf being around 70 degrees, I mean, it's been hot, been very warm winter and dry. Those fish were still out there, but they were coming in with that incoming tide up the river because I fished places earlier without a bite, and we fished up till about 4:30, and we stopped at those same spots and we started catching fish.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking they know that water temperature is dropping faster than what we think, and they're just going to ride it out to us like, oh, now I'm cold, I got to run. No, I think they sense it, and I think they start moving up the river, same as those manatees in a 24-hour period. We'll say.
Man, it makes perfect sense. Hey, William, in 2025, what fish in your fishery did better than expected? What were you pleasantly surprised with this year?
Well, all my inshore guys are all doing well, but I would say something that really struck my attention is how many flounder I caught during our closed season.
How about that?
October, November, and I don't know if I didn't notice it before, but I definitely noticed it when you couldn't keep one in October, November. Seemed that we were catching a lot more of them and some nice ones.
Sure.
And we did. Right before the season, closed in October, we had a couple days where we had one day with shore lunch. We actually had 2 keepers, and that's what we ate. It was fantastic. and then I was thinking, oh, all of a sudden, well, maybe we could do that again, and we did. And then I was like, oh dang, it's closed. And then we started catching them. We started catching them those 2 months more than what I remember ever catching them. And, it could do with the science. It could do with something I never paid attention to. But I would say that our flounder in our area during that time has always been a fish of opportunity, but I think that it could be targeted well during those months.
Good deal. I tell you, Northeast Florida was a huge disappointment in flounder, so it just kind of depends on where you are. Cap, we appreciated each and every report you were kind enough to give us this year. Please tell me we can go next year, too.
Yes, sir. Next year, I'll be right down here in downtown Homosassa, keeping the gnats in check and the golf carters stopping at that 4A intersection as they should.
You got it. Thanks, Cap. Our thanks to William Toney for great news out of Homosassa. Now, let's move up into the Big Bend and see what's going on in Mexico Beach with Captain Kevin Lanier. Kev, how are you?
Hey, Captain Rick, we're doing great. We're freezing, but we're doing great.
Buddy, I mean, it's cold. I think because it hasn't been cool very much, now that it's cold, it feels even worse. Either that or I'm another year older. That could be it, too.
I think all of the above is the answer.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right. Hey, Kevin, what's the difference in a northern zoo and a southern zoo?
I have no idea, but somehow I think this is a dig on the South.
The northern zoos have plaques on the cages telling you what the animals is. The southern zoos have plaques on the cages telling you what the animals is and the 3 best recipes to cook it.
Absolutely. Everything tastes good. Hey, it's like the old, people eating tasty animals.
Right,
stuff
right,
like that.
Right. Hey,
and everything is good on the plate next to the mashed potatoes.
That's right. You're exactly right. Tell me how your fishing was this week.
Fishing's been good. We've had a pretty decent week. The winds picked up with this cold front coming in, but the guys are getting out, and the red snapper bite has been good. There are some quality fish being taken. It's kind of a little conflicting because you've got charter guys, federal charter guys can fish every day of the week. The recreational guys can fish on the weekends, and it all ends tomorrow. So it's really a moot point after tomorrow, but I think it's a good way to close the door on 2025. And, the red tide has pretty much departed us at this point in time, and the redfish and things like that have picked up as well. So fishing all around has been good this week.
That's fantastic. Hey, let me ask you a question. Looking back on 2025, we've only got a day and a half, I guess, left of it. What fish in your fishery surprised you in a positive way? What fish did you see more of than you thought you'd see this year?
Yellowtail snapper.
Yep, you had told me that. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. They surprised us this year and last year. It's like first one you bring to the boat, you look at it and go, "Are you lost or what?" Kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, are you getting them like alongside your beeliners? Are they mixed in with a school of beeliners, or are you actually able to target yellowtails?
No, we're getting them. If we're fishing for beeliners and red snapper, we're getting them. That's how we're getting them.
Mm-hmm.
I got one in a completely different location. Near the end of the regular red snapper season. It was out in deeper water, which that would be where I would expect to find them earlier. I mean, before, we found them last year much further north than I would have thought I would find them south than I would before I'd find them north, but it was exactly the opposite of that. So.
That's interesting. I'll be darned. I think up here in the snapper family, we've seen more lanes than we usually do. I've got a couple lanes in the refrigerator right now waiting for me to eat dinner, so that ain't all bad.
Yeah. My number two fish would be the saucer eye porgies.
Really?
I have caught more of them this year than I think I caught more of them this year than I've caught since I've been chartering out of Mexico Beach.
I'll be darned. And they eat good, too.
Oh, yeah.
They're a lot better than the pink porgy is.
But, the meat is so white on it. It's almost the
Yes,
same color as a triggerfish.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But incidentally, I'll eat triggerfish tomorrow for lunch, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. And by the way, we've got plenty of red snapper in the freezer, so just so you know.
Yeah, okay. Hey, next year I'm going to get to play that game with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Good for you guys. I am so happy for you guys. And, one thing that amazes me about that, Captain Rick, is I'm still trying to figure out where they discovered all these additional red snapper.
I know. I could have told them if they'd asked me, but no. I tell you one thing, Kevin, that I hope a lot of people learn, and a lot of people haven't yet. 8 to 12 pound snapper is the best snapper you can get.
You and I have talked about that more than one time.
Yep, I know it. The 20 pounders don't hold that much more meat, and they don't taste as good. Let's leave those big spawners alone. Take our 8 to 12s and be happy with them. Kevin, we sure appreciate this whole year of reports from over there in the Big Bend area. Please tell me we can do it again next year.
Captain Rick will do our best, sir. That's all I can promise you at this point.
Deal, Cap. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin. Our thanks to Kevin Lanier for a great Big Bend report. Now, let's move west and check out Tyler Massey in Pensacola. Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing good, Rick. How are you guys?
Good. Is it chilly over there? It's chilly here, buddy.
Yeah, well, this last cold front got us, into the 40s.
Yep.
Maybe a little colder the next few days. So yeah, it's definitely chilly.
Shoo! My wife bought me a seat to sit on in my deer stand that's supposed to heat up. I've never used it. I think tomorrow it's going hunting.
Yeah, I'd put it in the truck probably.
Yep. Tell me about your fishing this week.
Yeah, fishing's been pretty good. So, starting out inshore, this time of year, we're stuck inshore a lot of the days with these cold fronts, we get a lot of wind. It makes getting offshore a little more difficult. Pick your right days, it's fine. But inshore, the speckled trout are biting pretty good in the canals around Gulf Breeze and in the bayous and stuff in Pensacola. They're biting artificials really well. Mirror Miradines working really nice. DOA shrimp, gulps on a really light jig head. Just working the deeper parts of the canals. So right in the channels, right in the center, real slow moving through these canals, and you can pick up good numbers of trout. Not a whole lot of big ones, it seems like, but good numbers for sure. A lot of getting a little area, you can get them every cast kind of deal.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I would imagine now you had a little opening in the ocean late last week, didn't you?
Yeah, we made a few trips offshore. We got given this extra red snapper season for us, so we took advantage of that, and the snappers were biting like crazy. The wintertime's always the best time of year to catch a lot of those stuff offshore, the reef fish anyways. And we did good with that. But, coming to the new year, it's going to be in Indian forest triggerfish and red snappers closing down. And we'll just be pretty much bottom fishing wise, we'll just be vermilion snapper fishing. if you want to get out there. And it seems like our trolling stuff has slowed down too. The wahoos have disappeared, and the blackfins and stuff have disappeared. So maybe a break from the super far offshore stuff for a little while, maybe a month or two.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Looking back on 2025, what species did the best for you? What surprised you by showing up the most?
We had a really good flounder season in the bay. It's just been consistent. We're catching them starting in, late March and catching them all the way into November. And it just seems like it's been getting better and better for us with these new regulations and closing during the gigging season. So, the spawning season, close gigging during the spawning season. I feel like that's a species over here that's rebounded for us, and it's doing pretty good.
That's the one thing I wish they'd do here. Doggone it, the closed season, October and November, the commercial giggers are limited to 50 fish a night per person. And that's just awful. I mean, that needs to be closed up, no doubt. Hey, Cap, we sure appreciated each and every report this year. Please tell me we can do it again next year.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Hey, me too, Tyler. Thanks so much, buddy.
All right, Rick, we'll see you.
And that puts a wrap on our last trip around the state for 2025. God, it was a lot of fun, and all the guys really had fish that they felt like had really enhanced their fishery this year. We got a lot of fish to worry about, but we got a lot of fish that are getting better too. How could redfish get any better than it was in 2025? Gosh, you move down the coast, Ray Rocher says dolphin are the best that they've been in a good while. John Earhart is seeing more summertime sailfish. Greg Stamper, it's juvenile tarpon. Everybody had their fish that they thought did the best in 2025. I know one thing, nobody enjoyed the podcast this year as much as I did, and I'm so looking forward to next year, and I hope you're going to come right along with us for another year of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter podcast. Until then, for Florida Sportsman Magazine, I'm Captain Rick Riles, and we'll see you on the rip.